Hi friend, welcome to A Water Connection, a space created to learn, connect, and multiply the power of a conversation to give visibility to the water industry. I'm Jess Borges, a passionate human being who believes that you should increase your water curiosity. Welcome to this new episode. Today, I'm joined by Roch Cheroux. With experience in a variety of roles, including water utilities, private companies, he has joined us today to understand who are the main stakeholders that have a play in the water sector. We know it's not only one company, so we want to explore that a little bit. And if we could draw a mind map of the industry, how would that look like? Roch is the managing director of Sydney Water. He's a key influencer in the water industry with experience in shaping and leading public and private corporations across the Asia Pacific region and Europe. Roch is active across the industry. He is the chair of the Water Services Association of Australia and a member of the Australian Water Partnership Advisory Committee. We're very lucky to have him today with us. Welcome to A Water Connection, Roch.
Thank you, and good morning or good evening or good day to everyone.
That's it. Everyone could be hearing this in a completely different time.
Exactly.
Roch, during your career, you have worked within the water sector in multiple roles. Without going into detail about New South Wales or Sydney urban water system just yet, can you describe usually who are the main stakeholders that are present in the water industry?
Yeah, it's a very broad question because there are many stakeholders in the water industry and probably as there is in many industries. But I'm going to try to paint a picture that is not too broad. I'll start with the customers and community, because they are really the key. They're not only customers, they're also stakeholders as a community, and they're always the key one that we need to look at, because at the end of the day, as a water industry, we're here to provide an essential service to our customers. And that's why this, I'm going to call it a category of stakeholders, our customers, is so important. So I would really put that at the top. Because we're talking about customers and community, governments are always not very, very far. So they are an important stakeholders, because they will be setting the policies in which we operate. So if you think about water quality, if you think about environmental protection, if you think about all sort of things, governments are always very, very close to what we're doing. Regulators are an important category of stakeholders as well. And yes, the water industry is very, very regulated industry. Everything that we're doing basically is regulated. But the three main regulators that we've got, health, obviously, environment, and economic regulation in most places. I know it's not the case everywhere. It's not the case everywhere in Australia. It's not the case everywhere around the world. But most of the time, there is a form of economic regulator. So the regulators are important stakeholders as well. And then you've got all the different organizations or the different actors that are in the water industry, and that goes from all the partners that we have, and they can be private or public organizations, but there are many actors, because the water industry is made of many different fields of activity. So all the organization partners that we've got, and I will include, in the case of Sydney Water, I will include all the, for example, construction companies that we've got as partners, the service providers, the universities, all sort of really very varied organization that we are working with. So a very broad field of stakeholders that we're dealing with every day.
It is certainly quite broad, and that's precisely why I wanted to kind of start with this question, because people that are listening to this might be working on one side of all of this map that you were saying, either the government, maybe at the regulator, or maybe in that broad range of like service and partners, as you have called them, which is a very interesting and very telling way of how I see things. Working in the water industry is not so much like a transactional thing, but we're partners and we're collaborating in taking that in. And that was precisely what I was going to ask you next, because what is it? I mean, you mentioned some of those roles that those additional companies that are included, those partners do. But like, could you go a little bit further into? Because I know there are like consulting companies out there. There will be construction companies as well, and contractors in general. What do they do for companies like Sydney Water? Do they only kind of deliver actual installation of things, and they help the company in many other ways?
Well, they do a lot more than this. If you think about a traditional water company, water corporation like Sydney Water, we've got a large part of our activity that we do with partners, and that's in many different fields. So that starts from planning activity to asset delivery to design, construction. There's a lot of things where we are actually not working on our own, but working with partners. So the role of these companies, partners, is really critical because they will help us to deliver for our customers. And their role is important because they will be also bringing different ideas, different perspective compared to what we could have internally. And they will be bringing expertise that we don't have inside the business. So the relationship is very much a partnership where we're setting an objective of something that we're trying to achieve for our customers. And then we work together on what's the best solution to deliver for our customers. So this is really a partnership that we've got with many companies, consultants, engineering companies, design, construction companies, all sort of organizations that are working with us.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned something very important there on the expertise, because it could be that a particular area in Sydney Water is still like on the process of getting into a new development or a new technology, and then suddenly some of these partners may have worked on that in a different company. Do you think that's a way that Sydney Water, in this case in particular, learns from other companies and from what is happening around the world, is through those partnerships?
Definitely, yes. And, you know, things are always moving. So an expert one day is not an expert the following day because something new has come up, and you know, and so you need all the time to have this exchange of expertise and discussions with the environment around you, so that you really can progress and continue to be up to date, or at the edge of the progress as much as you can every day. So you know, it's not it's never can I put it? It's never a static position. It's always something very fluid. So you need to continue to engage and exchange with partners so that you keep moving at the not only the right pace, but also with the latest technology and the good ideas that will come up somewhere else in the world, or maybe sometimes at Sydney Water. And you know, and that's also an idea that maybe will be shared with other organizations elsewhere in the country or around the world.
That is true. Like different. That is exactly how partnership and collaboration works. Like the main
Yes.
solution or the first one may not come from one, but if we all think together, we might make it better. Like make better solutions. And I think what you say about like being fluid. I thought that was a really good comparison. I mean, water is a fluid, so like how we work on this is also quite fluid. And even though we provide a service that is essential, is always there, it's always going to be needed. In that sense, it's quite traditional kind of what we do. But we really need to kind of change the switch into, okay, what is the next thing that is happening? Because we, as you say, we're not experts. We're experts today,
Yeah.
maybe in certain things, but things change so quickly.
And the reality is that our customers' expectations are changing, and they are changing all the time. So the things that we're providing today and that suit our customers' needs today are probably not the things that we're going to deliver in the future. And they are different from what we were delivering in the past. So, simply by the fact that our customers' expectations are changing, we need to adjust what we're doing every day.
Yeah. What do you think has been that main switch in expectations lately that you have seen in Sydney Water? What are customers and community looking for?
I don't think there is anything, coming just like this. It's
Yeah.
always, like any society, you've got expectations that are changing little by little. And, take a very current one, which is the expectations in terms of communications. Our customers are expecting a lot more in terms of communication compared to what they were expecting um, a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. And it goes with what the community is living with social media and simply the environment that we're living in. So, 10 years ago, probably customers were happy if there was an email or something on our website and saying, well, we're doing this in your street and water will come back at this time of the day. Today, they are expecting to get a message on their whatever social media they're using, and to get this message delivered in a personalized way. This is something that was not existing 10 years ago. And that's why we need to adapt, because if we don't provide this sort of service to our customers, they're thinking, well, actually, it's not a good service. So this is, a sort of example of customers' expectations that have changed compared to a few years ago.
And I think it's a great example of something that shows how a water utility is not only like delivering the water, the expectations of the customers is not only in like what is coming out of the tap, but is in all the other things that are related to that service, such as communications. That is things that maybe someone that is listening to this and might be more in a technical role hasn't even thought about that will become important, but it's something that you can share with us, from that perspective.
Yeah, I think there's look there's also and that's probably different in different places, but there's also a movement that is coming where the community is more and more informed and aware of the water cycle. And then when you start thinking about the water cycle as an integrated water cycle, then the role of a water utility becomes completely different. And then our customers will be thinking, well, actually, it's not about turning the tap on and flushing the toilets, but it's also what happens before and after. And it's also what happens if I want to go to have a swim in a river or at the beach, or if I want to go to the park and there's no irrigation and the park is completely brown in summer, and it's about the trees in the street and to provide shade and etc. And then the movement is okay. So actually, as a water utility, our role is not only to provide good, safe drinking water and sanitation for our customers, but it's also to provide water in the city, in the living environments that our customers are living in. So and then you can see that the shift from, yeah, drinking water is fine. sanitation is fine, but actually now we want you to think about
Yeah.
the complete water cycle. And when you
Yeah.
start thinking about um, purified recycled water, how can we use the water several times instead of using it just once and then putting it back into the environment? And so you've got this sort of very different expectations from what we had years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's interesting that you say that, like that people are more aware of that water cycle, and they're asking, or like they want the city and Sydney water to be like more aware of like what happens across a more broader kind of water use. Connected to that, I recently saw a campaign that Sydney Water had launched. I think this was before the end of the year. You might be hearing this, I don't know when in 2024, but we're recording this in January 2024. And we're talking at the end of 2023. I saw an ad called Stop Being a Water Waster. I thought it was brilliant because it was a way to bring attention to the value of water and raise awareness about our behaviors. So, for those who are listening who may not have watched it, I'll leave the link in the show notes. I'll find it. But in short, this clip presents Bob, who's visited by 10-year-old Bob, who points out all these bad water behaviors. You know, you're brushing your teeth with the tap on, you're having like super long showers, etc., that make him a water waster. So I thought first that was really good because it's a way that we can just reach out. You know, sometimes one of the things that I find commonly talking to people within the water industry is that we need to be doing more to talk to people outside of the water industry, and that's part of what this project is about as well. Even though it's connected on or directed to young water professionals, if someone outside of the industry listens to this, is still basic enough for them to pick up all the concepts. And but you think connected to this purpose that this campaign would have, which is water education, what do you think we can do as professionals? We work in the industry, right? To make our work a little bit more known outside, like outside of what Sydney Water as a corporation can do. What can we do to just get water to be a bit more known in the community, or a lot more than what it is right now?
Yeah, look, it's interesting because we're doing this sort of TV campaign every year, um, and the reason why we do it, it's because it's still the the media that will connect many different generations. So obviously we're using social media as well a lot, and the Bob campaign that you've seen on TV, we see it also on social media. But there's probably two aspects here. One aspect is um, engaging our customers and the community on water conservation, because that's a really important message. And we know that in Sydney, we are at about 185 liters per head per day, which is, it's not huge, but it's still very high. And we would like our customers to be a bit more aware about the fact that water is precious and we need to save as much as possible. So that's a way to engage our customers on this conservation message. But there's also another message, which is, well, actually, water is not only about turning the tap and flushing the toilets. Water is actually everything that is upstream and downstream, and all the impact that water has on your living environments. And this message is really important because most of the time, people just don't know about the water industry. It's just about, it's easy to turn the tap, it's easy to flush the toilet. And then you don't think about it unless you've got an issue, unless there's a break in your street and you don't have water, or there's an overflow somewhere and the river is polluted, or, when something bad happens. But 99% of the time, you will not think about it. You will just use the product, and without thinking the benefits that we have living in a developed country, in a very wealthy country, where it's a service that is provided at very, very low cost, and we don't need to think about. And that's one of the difficulty of the water industry is that we are very, very invisible. So how can we make us more visible? How can we engage more the community about it and explain that, I'm always talking about the network that we've got in Sydney and saying to our customers, well, under Sydney, we've got about 44,000 kilometers of pipes to provide services to the community. Do you know that if you put all the pipes together, then you can start from Sydney, go around the world, and come back to Sydney? That's how long our network is. And then usually people just don't, because they don't understand, they don't realize that it's a massive set of infrastructure and people working on this infrastructure to deliver a service, an everyday service, every minute, every second service to our customers. So the education and awareness that we can do to our customers or community every day is really, really critically important. You know, the if you think about the price of water, the price we pay for water is actually very, very low for the service it provides. And you can simply compare the price of bottled water to the price of tap water.
Yeah.
It's just it's a factor of 1,000 between the two, and it's just completely crazy that we're providing this service for such low cost, and that the level of awareness of the community is so low. So that's something that as an industry, we need to continue to raise our profile and explain to the community how lucky they are. There's always, and many of the people in the water industry have worked overseas, but when you work in the water industry in developing countries and you see what you see, and then you come back to a developed country like Australia, and then you realize how lucky we are to have water at the tap and sanitation in a very, very easy way, then that gives you a very, very different perspective.
That is true. That is another way that definitely we can help people understand about the water. And I think it's very interesting that you mentioned also, like, it's not only about opening the tap and how, but what is happening upstream and what is happening after, which is something that I briefly touched with Carlene in one of our past episodes as well. That is related more to the river, kind of in a river perspective, but it was the same. It's not only about me and what I'm doing here, but how do we think as a community of what water is actually doing?
Yeah, water is everywhere, and we don't see it.
Yeah,
You don't have you don't well. It's a very basic principle, but there is no life without water. But it's not only drinking water. You also need
oh yeah,
parks and gardens, and you need trees, and you need rivers, and etc. And that's what makes the community a living and thriving environment.
that's right. Looking in a, we have been talking about Sydney water here, but looking in a local lens, in this case, we talk about being upstream and downstream. Could you give us a little bit of an overview of how does Sydney water work? Because we know that in different states of Australia is different. So I'm based in South Australia, where, for example, we have only SA Water, and SA Water is in charge of the whole cycle of the drinking water, to say like that. But is it the same in New South Wales? So people that might be based in other states, could you give us a little bit of a description of how that works?
So New South Wales, you've got two water corporations. You've got Sydney Water Corporation and Hunter Water Corporation. So Sydney Water looks after what we call the Greater Sydney area. So this is Sydney, the Blue Mountains, and to the south it goes down to Wollongong and Kiama in the south. So quite a large area, about 5.2 million customers in this area. Hunter Water looks after Newcastle area, and then you've got, and Newcastle area, it's quite a large area. It's about 200,000 customers.
Customers.
And then you've got 89 local water utilities. So it's a very fragmented organization where in these 89 water utilities, some are small, some are medium size, and they will run their own local water utility. So very different compared to South Australia, where you've got one large utility looking after the entire state. Here in New South Wales, we've got 89 local water utilities and two corporations, one in Hunter region and one
Yeah.
in the Greater
Yeah. Okay.
Sydney region.
Yeah, it's quite varied, as you say. Like a little bit of a mix. Two big ones, followed by many small ones. And what about like the raw water? Like, is Sydney Water responsible of like the reservoirs and all of this? Because I had a chat with Pat McCafferty, and then he was talking to me about how it's in Victoria, and over there it's just different. There's one company for like the bulk kind of raw water, and then it starts Melbourne water. So it was different.
So yeah, so you've got, and I should probably have mentioned that you've got also an organisation called Water New South Wales,
Okay.
and Water New South Wales looks after the catchments and the river as well. So the river as well. So, for example, in Sydney, they look after a number of reservoirs and dams. Not all of them. There's a number of dams that Sydney Water look after. And most of the time, we're buying raw water from Water New South Wales, and then we treat it at our water treatment plants. So Water New South Wales, for us, will be looking after some of the dams and will be selling raw water to us downstream of the dam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Certainly quite different to how it is, at least
It
here
is
in
different.
South Australia.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess that's another layer of that map. We were talking about that map at the beginning, where we have the customers and we have the government and
Yes.
the regulator, the companies, the
Yeah.
universities, the consultants. But then is the geographic map as well that changes across Australia. If someone's listening from another country, it might be completely different. So it is certainly like a multi-layer map that we have been exploring today.
Absolutely, and that's interesting because every state is different. There's no two
Yeah.
states that are the same. And if you look at the states where you've got statewide water corporations, there are still differences between. If you
Yeah.
look at TAS Water, SA Water, or Water Corporation in Western Australia, there are three different organisations. If you look at the states where it is most fragmented, like Queensland and New South Wales, the fragmentation is also very different. So SAQ Water in Queensland will have a very different role compared to Water New South Wales in New South Wales,
Yeah.
even if they are both looking after dams. Water New South Wales is not treating water, where SAQ Water is treating water.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all different.
All different, and then yeah, they have evolved differently, depending on as well. Like the states are quite different. We have Western
Yeah,
Australia, which is like, I think the
absolutely.
extension is
Yeah,
absolutely magnificent, and when we have Tasmania, which is smaller, and then we have Victoria, which
yeah.
is very small but also very fragmented. So yeah, it's very quite dynamic and quite varied, and that was something I also touched on with Adam Lowell from
Mhm.
WASA, who helped me a little bit into checking a national perspective of that, and that was one of the things we were saying, that is quite varied. So
Yeah.
yeah. Rob, what do you think is the biggest challenge that the water industry is facing at the moment?
Look, I'll probably talk about Australia because Yeah, because the challenges that we've got as a water industry in Australia is very, very similar. Look, I think our biggest challenge is climate change. Um, and, and climate change has an impact when you put climate change, population growth, and aging assets together.
Together.
And climate change is definitely happening. We see that in the cycles of floods and droughts that we've got that are very different compared to what we had in the past. But if you put that together with population growth, where we know that the spare capacity that we all had in our assets is getting smaller and smaller, and we also know that most of our assets were built in the 60s and 70s and get to a stage where they need replacement or upgrade. So all this means that there is huge capital programs that will be needed in the next few years, and this is going to have an impact on our customers, because if we talk about capital program, then it means that we also talking about price increase. And that's why the conversation with our customers about explaining what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the cost of it is really, really important.
That is, it is certainly, and that has been one of the most common challenges that I've also been discussing with other guests in this podcast. And but I think you picture it in a very telling way when it's combined. Like it's not only climate change; it's climate change with the stuff that is happening with the population and with the asset kind of issue, which is maybe particular to this. Not only to this industry, other industries will be facing that, but it's
Yeah,
certainly something that is quite specific to the water industry.
yeah.
Rob, what would be your message to young water professionals who might be listening to you right now? If you could just tell them something, what would that be?
That would be congratulations. You've chosen the best industry in the world. Look. Yeah, that would be my message, because I think the water industry is so exciting. It's an industry that is an essential industry. So just for the purpose of the industry is absolutely fantastic. But it's also an industry where you've got many, many opportunities, because the scope of activity is so broad that you can have 10 or 20 different jobs, or 10 or 20 different careers in the water industry. It's as one individual. You can have 10 or 20 different careers in the water industry. So yeah, look, it's absolutely fantastic that we see so many young water professionals joining the industry. Um, Beside congratulations, I would say, well, keep your mind open and embrace any challenge that you will find in the industry, because there's so many things that as an industry we can do for the community. It's just so exciting.
Oh, yeah, that's very nice. I hadn't had that one, like people saying congratulations. So that's awesome. And I'll take it as well as me because I work in the industry. So thank you. And just to finish it up, and I know it's related to this question. So, but why do you work in the water industry? Why does Roch Cheroux work in the water industry?
Uh, Look, I think there's probably a number of different things, but the main one is this is an essential service that we're providing to the community. So, it's always been very important to me to give something back to the community, and doing it in an environment that is so interesting and so exciting. Has always attracted me. I've only worked all my life in the water industry, so I'm a very boring person. But look, the mission, the purpose of the water industry is so important. That's probably the main reason. There's probably another one, which is the water industry is very close to nature by what we do, and that's also important to me.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it's not boring. You just said that people can have like 8 or 10 careers, even though
Yeah,
it's still in the water
absolutely.
industry. So
I-
that's what you have been doing from what I was reading in your bio. So not boring
Absolutely.
at all.
I think there is also an important point is that this is an industry that exists everywhere in the world. And when you work in the water industry, you can transport your knowledge, you can transport your passion everywhere in the world, in any country in the world. And
That's
that's
true.
also, very attractive to say, oh, yeah, I'm working here today. Maybe in the future I'm going to move country and work in a different country, and etc. That's definitely something quite exciting.
It is, and it's something that not everyone has that luxury because in certain areas of knowledge you have to
Yeah,
be geographically where you study.
yeah,
So certainly is another advantage. Yes.
yeah.
Rob, thank you very much for your time. This was an amazing conversation where you helped us unpacking a bit of that map first on organizations. We looked into New South Wales, how the water industry work, and I think we had a very nice conversation around the key of all of those and the center of all of those, which is the community and the customers in this case for Sydney Water. So thank you very much for joining us today in our Water Connection.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
No, it's a good. You're always welcome to come back and have another chat with us. And to you, my friend, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to this episode of A Water Connection. I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we just had. Follow us on LinkedIn so you are aware of any other episodes coming or any other platform where you listen to your podcast. We are there, and we'll see you next time.